Hello everyone and welcome to episode 25 of the SATO Briefing series. Today we're going to be talking about not the CB580s. I know it's been a long time with that project and we are coming to the end of it. Hopefully at the time of this video, which is the 24th of October, the CB580s will be released by this weekend, which will be in about 2 days. So with those out of the way, we can get back to more firefighting focused creations. So this in front of me here, as you can see, is the BAe-146 series aircraft. In this particular configuration, it's the RJ85. Largely, the 146 and the RJ don't differ that much. It's just some engine differences and some other minor specification differences, but largely the 146 and the RJ are fairly similar. However, if you look at the configurations in firefighting, you've got the platform flown by Neptune Aviation, and that uses an internal twin tank or split tank system. So while Conair and Aeroflight, being that they're sister companies, they operate an external tank, which you see here. It kind of gives it the what people would like to refer to as the pregnant whale kind of look for the RJ. If you look at the profile of the jet, it looks like it's pregnant. But this the RJ and the 146 both carry 3,000 gallons of retardant or water. So people may remember a while back that I did a pack that was all of the paints for Neptune Aviation, their old livery for the 146, the new liveries, and also Conair and Aeroflight's some of their aircraft for the Quality Wings aircraft. This is a complete aircraft and is freeware. It is not payware. So what I've taken is that external tank that was done by Jeremy, our other SATO admin and founder. He created these tanks, and I've just simply adopted them to put on these aircraft. And then I've done my series of updates to them to kind of make them more of an air tanker. So in this particular case, we've got the tank attached to it. Then it's gone, and I've put some of my recent external modifications to it, like adding PBR, updated bump maps, and things like that. So with this, there will be 2 aircraft in the package. I'm not focusing on any of the commercial aircraft at all. It's just the air tanker. So with the 580s, I kind of went off tangent and did a bunch of different variants for passenger and cargo variants. We are not doing that now. We're back strictly focused on air tanker content, at least for the time being. Like I said before, we kind of float back and forth. Sometimes I'll do aircraft that aren't completely tanker related and why not else. But without me going further off tangent, these aircraft, the 146 and the RJ, will have all of Aeroflight, all of Conair, and all of Neptune Aviation's aircraft. And I will be doing a single version of Airspray's BAe-146. So they only have the one, and it's kind of a up in the air situation with that aircraft. Nobody really knows why it's not flying. But I figure since it's at least in existence, I'll still do that livery for it as well. So with these, there is a significant amount of stuff I have to do to them. These RJ and BAe-146s are based off of PAD's aircraft from FS9. So they are a little dated, and there are some things that I am working to fix. But the cockpit is 100% functioning, so at least there's that. There's still some bugs in the cockpit that I'm trying to work through and fix. And there's, like I said, some model things that were missing or incorrect for these particular variants of the 146. So I've had to do some other modifications of the undercarriage to get them to look properly, and work with this particular example, work with the external tank because it would be too low to the ground. The 146, on the other hand, it needs a slightly less work, but it still needs some significant undercarriage work as well. And these were also missing the full-length spoilers on the wings. There's only a small single flap spoiler that would come up in the top, and that's not accurate for the 146 or RJ. It's like 2/3 of the wing. in length. The spoiler is, but the clamshell spoiler in the back is there, which is kind of a fixture on the 146 and RJ. It's if it doesn't have the clamshell spoiler in the back, then it's not quite up to snuff, so to speak. Luckily, that's all functioning in there on both aircraft, so don't have to mess with any of that. Just some minor stuff, like I said, with the wings and some other animations. But this project hopefully will not take nearly as long as the 580s. I'm already a good way into this with the prototypes, and as you can see here, it's not completely done, but it's largely there already. So at least with all the work I've done with it so far. I've also been doing flight dynamics changes for these so they fly a little bit more accurately and things like that. One of the other aircraft that I'm going to be working on is, some of you may remember, the S-64 Sky Crane. And this, as you can see here, is the S-64 Sky Crane. A ways back, I did a huge update pack for the Milviz/Nemeth S-64 Sky Crane and included a whole bunch of different configurations and things to better represent the Sky Cranes that were actually flying around, because the one that came with the original pack, while extremely good looking, represented probably the least most seen variant of the Sky Crane, which is the one with the water cannon on the front. Most Sky Cranes in operation don't fly with a water cannon, so it was a little bit of a sore spot for me, and the Sky Crane is probably one of my favorite helicopters in firefighting. So I went through the whole process of getting permission from Milviz, which was a whole process in itself, to be able to modify the Sky Crane and release the expansion models without it conflicting with them or making it so that you still had to buy the product, which you still will have to do for this single expansion continuation model. So with this, it represents the newer Sky Cranes that are coming out now. I shouldn't say coming out, but they're being upgraded and such, since Ericsson's fleet was bought out by this company here, Helicopter Express. So the iconic orange paint on the Ericsson Sky Cranes are slowly going to be phased out for, I'm assuming, what will be this paint job, which is for Helicopter Express. Now, November 600 here, as you see here, as Helitanker 0 Hotel X-Ray, is the first aircraft to be painted this way for Helicopter Express. This was formerly Ericsson's Goliath, and it has kept that name, as probably most of their helicopters will, and that you can see here on the nose. That will probably stay true with all the other Sky Cranes. They will keep their Ericsson name given to the aircraft. It's kind of traditional for the aircraft to all get names. So this particular aircraft is an S65 or S64F rather. Now the F models are special from Ericsson because there are complete new build helicopters. They are not upgraded E models. They are largely built from the ground up by Ericsson, which, if you don't know anything about that, Ericsson back in the 90s acquired rights from Sikorsky to actually build Sky Cranes from scratch. So over the years, they've slowly started to downsize their rotary wing fleet to they are only operating the Sky Cranes. And in the last year, they actually sold that last bit off to Helicopter Express, and now Ericsson seems to be, at least in their this particular section of firefighting, they've gone out of, and they're going more towards a support and modification and manufacturing kind of situation. So with that, all of their S64Fs, they have a general update to them versus an S64E, for example. The largest way you can tell an S64F from an E is largely the landing gears. Usually the F models have a dual gear or a dual wheel setup. It's not necessarily true, but you can tell it's been touched by Ericsson if the single wheel is no longer present. That's how you know Ericsson has touched these aircraft. So the F models all have this as standard equipment, as well as there's some other differences in the cockpit, which in this particular case, due to my permissions with Milviz, I didn't touch the cockpit in these. They still have the analog cockpits. But the other big thing that's with the Fs is they have a composite rotor blade. So the standard rotors on the Sky Cranes have a square tip, while these are made out of a carbon fiber composite, I believe honeycomb. Um, it's a newer type of rotor, and it's more efficient, and it allows the Sky Crane to operate better, lower vibration and overall wear to the airframe. So a lot of those Sky Cranes, even the E models, are slowly getting this particular rotor set up. So I've taken my expansion pack, my version 2.0 pack, and I'm adding this single helicopter to it. This is just the S64F, and it has, like I said, some of these changes to them. The base package came with an F model already with this composite rotor setup, but I've also done a few other things to help um, bring this up to a better kind of modern-ish standard compared to where all of my other versions are at this particular time. So one of the things you might be able to tell off the bat is that this, unlike any of the others, has PBR attached to it now as well. So along with the PBR, I've also added a updated model equipment support box here on this particular model, as well as some fuselage braces, and I've also changed some animations with the pond snorkel here. Now, the versions that came out, my original expansion models, all had the animations tied to an animation that I later found out conflicted with use with Lorbe's Firefighter X. So what would happen is you would go to activate the snorkel would come down and be in the locked or the usable position, and you would go to hover fill in a pond, water source, what you have you, and you would flicker and disappear. And that's what I later came to find out was part of Firefighter X's attachment and refilling options that are attached to SimConnect. It used those animations with the stock simulator to fill up the helicopter or the tanks in the aircraft. So with that, I finally went through and with this one changed those animations to a different setup so that now it doesn't act weird or flicker or disappear or do all kinds of weird things that it was doing before. It's more compatible with Firefighter X now. So this helicopter will just be it by itself and this one paint job. Now, as it goes on and maybe more paints come out for as other aircraft get added to this paint, then I can expand the paints to cover those aircraft. Or if there's any other different configurations that's flown by Helicopter Express, I can also do those too. But for right now, I'm not doing any further updates. It's just going to be this one single model with this one paint, and that's it. And this helicopter will likely come out before I'm even complete with the RJ and the 146. As you can see here, it's already pretty much done. There's a few minor things I need to fix with the new rotor blur textures and a few other small things, and then I can set this out for people to get. And this is only compatible in P3D version 4. You can, however, transfer this paint to the stock FSX version. It's just not going to look exactly like this because the add-ons that I did for the original package are only for P3D version 4 and above. So the other paint that I have that's coming is for the another BAe-146 rotor wing helicopter, and that's the Nemeth CH-47. The CH-47 will come with, it's going to be just the two liveries, and it's just the liveries only. I was going to try and get in contact with them to try and see if I could do a similar kind of thing that I did with the S-64s, but I don't really have the time to devote to trying to go through that whole legal process that I had to do with doing with this aircraft. So right now, I'm just going to do the two liveries for Rotak helicopters. Their CH-47s are a pretty interesting white, green, blue, and black kind of livery. So I'm not just doing those by themselves. I'm having some help with community creator Delta. He's released a lot of really great helicopter and aircraft liveries, other firefighting liveries for the sim, and he's also assisting me with doing the project as well. So hopefully those two intermediate projects will come out and kind of stay the gap between me working on the RJ and the 146, which is kind of the biggest project that I'll be working on. I still have some other stuff that's coming down the road, maybe, but those are kind of the things that we have coming in the immediate future. So you can look for the CV580s hopefully by this coming weekend before Halloween. And then the Sky Crane, CH-47 paints, and then hopefully not too far down the road, I will finish the RJ and BAe-146 tankers for the community. So thanks for tuning in, and tune into the next one.